There's a major update out of the Pacific Northwest today, and this one has real progress to report on both sides of the state line. In Washington, the 3 fires that devastated Spokane earlier this month have now climbed to 97% containment across the board. In Oregon, the Grasshopper Fire near Mount Hood has finally slowed down and Highway 35 has reopened, but there's also a brand new fire in Washington that's grown into one of the largest in the entire state, and a statewide burn ban that's now in effect for the rest of the fire season. I'm going to walk you through everything new on both sides of the border. Let's get into it. Let's start with the best news of this update. The 3 fires that broke out almost simultaneously in Spokane on August 1st, Old Trails, Autumn Lane, and Fairview, have now all reached 97% containment. Forward progression on the Fairview fire has officially been stopped, and crews across all 3 incidents are now focused almost entirely on patrolling for hotspots and making sure the perimeter stays secure rather than active firefighting. It's worth remembering just how devastating this incident was at its peak. These fires forced the evacuation of roughly 65,000 residents and destroyed more than 600 structures across Spokane County in a matter of days, all while burning inside or right up against the edge of a major city. State officials said at the height of the crisis that roughly 4,000 structures were considered threatened, and Washington Governor Bob Ferguson described what he was seeing in social media videos of homes burning as an extremely difficult situation for the entire region, stressing just how rapidly conditions were shifting hour to hour in those first days. Washington National Guard Major General Gent Welsh called the early scenes around Spokane a genuine tragedy, saying crews woke up each morning to find the extent of new destruction almost impossible to process. Getting from that chaos to 97% containment across the board in under 2 weeks is a genuinely significant accomplishment for the crews who've worked this incident, including California's CAL FIRE Teams 4 and 7, who were deployed here in what officials called a historic first. The first time a CAL FIRE incident management team has ever been activated to respond to a fire in Washington state. A formal request for immediate FEMA support was made early in the incident, along with a separate request for longer-term recovery funding, both of which remain active as the region moves fully into its rebuilding phase. Not every story in Washington is trending positive, though. The Sinlahekin Fire, burning near Tonasket in Okanogan County, has grown to 153,646 acres and is 37% contained. This fire has grown enormously in a short window of time, and it's now one of the largest active fires anywhere in the state, genuinely rivaling some of the incidents that have dominated headlines for weeks. Given how quickly this fire has expanded, it's a fire worth watching closely if you're anywhere near the Okanogan area, even if it hasn't gotten the same national attention as Spokane or Little Giant. Fires in this part of the state have historically been some of the hardest to access quickly, given the remote, mountainous terrain along the Canadian border, and that same geography has made rapid containment difficult here as well, even with 37% already secured. The Little Giant Fire in Chelan County remains one of the most difficult fires in the entire region. It's now burned to 127,487 acres and is sitting at just 5% contained, a fire that continues to grow steadily while containment lags far behind its size. Limited access into the surrounding valley and reduced air support have continued to make this one of the slowest progressing major fires in either state, and it remains a serious, ongoing concern for communities around Lake Chelan and the Entiat Valley. This fire began as a lightning-caused ignition, and its remote starting location has been part of why crews have struggled to build meaningful containment, even as personnel and equipment numbers on the incident have grown substantially over the past 2 weeks. Beyond the fires we've already covered, there's more happening across Washington's fire map right now. The Ptarmigan Fire has burned 24,057 acres and is 13% contained. The Maudrite Fire, meanwhile, has made real progress, now at 57,788 acres and 76% contained. Fire activity across the state has generally moderated in recent days, though officials continue warning that gusty winds remain a real concern that could reignite growth on any of these incidents without much notice. Washington's governor has declared a statewide wildfire emergency, and as part of that response, a statewide burn ban is now in effect, covering all outdoor burning. Yard debris, land clearing, and any campfire not contained in an approved structure through September 30th. Given how many fires across the state have been human-caused this season, officials are treating this ban as a critical piece of preventing the situation from getting even worse before the season is over. That emergency declaration also came alongside a mobilization of the Washington National Guard, activated specifically to support firefighting resources that were already stretched thin, managing multiple complex incidents simultaneously across the state. There's also a practical recovery deadline worth flagging for anyone directly affected. Washington's Department of Social and Health Services is reminding residents in Benton, Chelan, Ferry, Lincoln, Okanogan, Whitman, and Yakima counties, including tribal communities within those counties, that they have until this Friday, August 14th, to file a claim for replacement food benefits if they lost food because of wildfires or related power outages that began back on July 15th. Residents in Pend Oreille, Spokane, Stevens, and Walla Walla counties have a similar, slightly later window. If you're in one of these counties and haven't filed yet, this is genuinely worth doing before that deadline passes, since DASHES has already secured a federal waiver specifically to make this process easier for people whose lives have been disrupted by these fires. Claims will be verified through a third party, typically fire or police officials, a utility company, or local media coverage, and approved claims can replace benefits up to the amount of a household's monthly allotment. Turning to Oregon, there's genuinely encouraging news to report on the Grasshopper Fire near Mount Hood as well. The fire has grown to 85,114 acres and remains 20% contained, but the growth itself has essentially stalled after days of explosive expansion, a dramatic shift from the nearly 14,000-acre single-day surges this fire produced earlier in the week. The Oregon Department of Transportation has reopened Highway 35 after multiple rounds of closures throughout this fire's history, a real and meaningful sign that conditions along that corridor have stabilized, at least for now. Personnel on the fire stands at 1,877, and the estimated cost of fighting this fire has climbed to just under $50 million. Confirmed structure losses remain at 6 homes and 15 outbuildings, though roughly 200 buildings across the fire's footprint are still considered threatened, so officials are treating this slowdown as an opportunity to lock in progress rather than a sign the danger has passed. Fire behavior specialists are explicitly warning that shifting winds and possible storms in the coming days could reverse this progress quickly, especially given how this exact fire has demonstrated repeatedly just how fast it can accelerate when conditions align against crews. Earlier this week, this same fire went from roughly 70,000 acres to over 83,000 in a single overnight stretch, so nobody managing this incident is treating a quiet day or two as any kind of guarantee about what comes next. Crews are using this window to fortify the fire's eastern containment lines and expand mop-up operations closer to threatened homes, while also continuing hazard tree removal along the Highway 35 corridor, even with the road back open, since burned and weakened trees can fall without warning for weeks after a fire passes through. The Wright Spring Fire in Klamath County remains an active, serious incident, with crews continuing to hold and reinforce lines around the fire's northern and southeastern flanks. This remains the fire with the highest human cost of the season. Dozer operator Jason Ensign of Klamath Falls lost his life fighting this fire on August 6th, and Oregon's governor's office has confirmed wildfires have now killed at least 2 Oregonians this year. By total acreage burned, Oregon is now living through its most severe wildfire season in recorded history. As of the most recent count, Oregon's Department of Emergency Management reported 63 active fires burning across the state, with roughly 2 million acres burned combined, an area larger than the entire state of Delaware, with several weeks of peak fire season still remaining on the calendar. Put Oregon and Washington together, and wildfires across both states have now burned more than 3 million combined acres this season. That figure keeps climbing even as individual fires like the Spokane Complex and Grasshopper show real signs of slowing, simply because other incidents, like Sinlahekin and Little Giant, continue growing at the same time. It's a genuinely mixed picture right now, real, hard-won progress in several places, alongside fires that are still actively expanding and consuming resources across both states. If you're in Washington and lost food because of wildfire-related power outages, check whether your county qualifies for DSH's replacement benefit program before this Friday's deadline. If you're anywhere near the Sinlahekin or Little Giant fires, don't assume the progress in Spokane means the same is true where you are. These remain active, growing incidents. In Oregon, if you're near the Grasshopper Fire's footprint, keep checking your specific address on the Wasco County perimeter map, and don't treat Highway 35 reopening as a sign every road nearby is clear. More broadly, across both states, know your evacuation level and take it seriously. Sign up for your county's emergency alert system if you haven't already, and respect any statewide or local burn bans currently in effect. Given how many of this season's fires started from human activity, following those restrictions matters more than ever right now. 97% containment in Spokane, a slowing fire, and a reopened highway near Mount Hood, but also a brand new fire past 150,000 acres in Okanogan County and Oregon's most severe wildfire season on record. This remains one of the most consequential fire seasons the Pacific Northwest has faced in years, with genuine progress and genuine ongoing danger sitting side by side. We'll keep tracking every major fire across both states and bring you the next update as new official data comes in. If this helped, subscribe and turn on notifications, and share this with anyone you know in Oregon or Washington. To every firefighter, dozer operator, and first responder on the lines right now, thank you. Stay informed, stay ready, and stay safe out there.